Chat Army. We're here today with Bill McCormick. How you doing, Bill?
I am doing wonderful, Cody. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We got new lighting. Everything's going pretty good for us over here.
Well, I'm indoors with a light and a camera, and this is my whole life now.
Yeah, it's the new normal, isn't it?
Yeah. Weird.
Oh, yeah. So tell us some of the books that you created so far.
So far, yeah. It's actually, I don't have them all because I don't have copies of them all here, but we've got enough to get you started. This is a manga thing I did called Jungle Girl for the Hybrid Zero universe. It's about an alien sex park that's built on a new Earth, and it's really, like a lot of my stuff, we use scatological content to tell social commentary, stories, and satire. So there's a lot of that. So if you get offended easily, I'm probably not the guy you want to be hanging out with, but there you go. Speaking of Hybrid Zero, this is Juggernaut, and this has been just getting incredible reviews. The art in it, I don't know if you can see all this, but the art in it is just like an expressionistic, like French expressionistic style. And again, scatological and sociological, but people read that one and then they're like, wow. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. When this first came out, I was doing a convention. Remember when we talked to people, we go in public and talk to people?
I remember.
Yeah, this young lady, 20-something, she'd seen it online. And she saw that I was going to be at this convention. So she emailed me, are you going to have copies of this there? And I said, yeah, I got a rack full of them, so come on by. She knocked people out of the way to get the comic book. Took pictures with part 1 and part 2, Juggernaut. She took pictures with both of them. Then she came back and circled back and got Cassandra, which I don't have a copy of, and another copy of Jungle Girl. She was just like, I'm in love with this. And she follows me online, so I guess she liked it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever had another experience like that before?
Yeah.
Or was that the first time you had like a super fan experience?
This magazine, Legends Parallel, we've got 3 issues out now. I've got 2 in my hand. Legends Parallel has gotten some real super fan type of stuff. When the graphic novel came out, which is actually a compendium of issues 1, 2, and 3, plus a photo shoot of the model Feisty Nicole Brown, because she's the body model for Ocean in the comic. So we put that whole thing together. And I got one guy, this is actually really cool. He owns a comic book store. He bought one copy at whole retail price. He didn't ask for a break or anything. He paid retail for it. I shipped it to him. It was like $25. Calls me back the next week. I need to order another one. I sold mine. I'm like, I found out he's been selling them for $30 in his store, and he's getting it. And I'm like, once every couple of weeks, I ship him out another graphic novel. Hey, it worked for him. It works for me.
Yeah.
He's not stealing from me, so I don't care. If he can get something, I'm thinking maybe I should charge $30 for this thing, but it's
right.
A little expensive. But people who read it, they either really get into it because of all the stuff that's going on, or they think I should probably be committed somewhere. So we're in that fine line there. So moving on, this is something, it's called Savarchik. And I wrote this, I mentored some trans teenagers, and they were bitching that they didn't have a superhero. And I'm like, well, I write science fiction. I'll write a science fiction superhero for you.
Right.
And so I did. And at that time, I was going through this thing with Russia, the government in Russia. My book, The Brittle Riders, my novel, The Brittle Riders, had been bootlegged there, and they sold 35,000 copies without my permission. Rather than pay me, they informed me that I would be arrested for creating seditionist literature. Yeah, wow. I gotta love the Russians. They did give us vodka, so that's one good thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we set Savarchik in Russia just because I knew someone was going to bootleg it and piss off more people over there. So we did that, and it's a story of a god trapped inside, a woman trapped inside a man, and a god trapped inside a human, and they're all one person. And so she's, she was born Ivan, she becomes Anne, and in her brain now is a demigod named Savarchik. And so we follow the whole story of Savarchik. Tell you a story about this one. This is one that makes me happy. We were up in Barrington, Illinois, which you don't know, but it's like the middle of Bufu nowhere. It's almost a 2-hour drive from my home to get there. Right. And we're doing this con, and it was, we were there, and I was getting no love at all from anyone in the con because they were looking for younger, more kid stuff, and I don't do kid stuff. So you know that you and your wife were like, ah!
Yeah.
So I'm up there at this con, and this lady walks in, and she goes, I just drove an hour to get here to buy this book. Now, I sell this for $2 because my goal is to get it in as many hands as possible. So it's not like I'm charging big money on this thing.
Right.
But you can buy it online for $2, and I'll throw in $1 for shipping, and I'll just mail it to you. You know, it's easy. But she drove over an hour to get the book just so I could autograph it, so she could bring it to her daughter, who had recently come out as trans. So she suddenly had a daughter where she didn't have one before. And she saw this online, she wanted it, and she sent it. So a couple weeks later, I don't hear anything other than she's like, I gave it to my kid, and they really liked it. But you know what that means. That means nothing. But a couple weeks later, my email pops up, and I look at this message, and it's from the girl, the trans girl. She's 16 years old. And I swear to you, Cody, you could hear the eyes rolling in it. Like, my mom got me the comic.
Yeah.
And my mom said I should read it, and I read it. And it was really cool, and thank you for representing for us. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I do this, and that's why we have some fun. And so I did that. I got other stuff, but let's move on to, this is the big one I did. I contributed a story. This is with writers from Marvel, DC, all over the place. We reimagined the stories of Edgar Allan Poe as science fiction nightmares. So, like, I took the oval portrait and turned it into a robot elegy. and it's kind of fun, too, because everyone when we did this, it's called the Edgar Allan Poe Chronicles. And when we did this, James Mcscifi, the head editor, said there are no rules. Do whatever you want to do. And he had guys from Marvel and DC and everything. He's like, it's just black and white. Do whatever you want to do. And it's like jazz, because all these guys were suddenly cut free. They didn't have to make the pose a certain way. They didn't have to do. So there's stuff in there that ranges from film noir to just almost like total like Japanese animation, not hentai, manga.
I get them confused also.
Yeah. And there's stuff that looks like just like it poured out of a 1970s heavy metal magazine, where it's like layers of all this stuff, but it's all black and white. It's all beautiful. And I always tell people it's like reading jazz, because all these guys and gals, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be so sexual. The guys and gals who put this together, we were completely free. And I did it with Brian Bigger Lion Daniel, was my artist on that project. And he now owns Hadithi Sambaba Comics, which releases Legends Parallel. So it's a small world we live in. Mm-hmm. But what else can I tell you? What do you want to
know? Where can people pick up the copies of the books?
Okay, you go to BillMcscifi.com. Everything's up there. You can order directly from the distributor. If I have stuff in stock, I will sell an autographed copy. You just got to cover shipping as well. I've got merchandise up there, onesies, and I think the cutest thing I've ever seen is a picture of one of my fans had their baby in a Bill Mcscifi onesie.
Nice.
Look at but that's that's a fun thing. That's a fun thing about merch. It's a point of sale thing. So you buy it, they print it, and print on demand. But I've been using it for years, and it's a great way for me to get a lot of stuff out without having to have a box of shirts in my home. Because that gets, in the pandemic, I had collected all the books I was going to sell for the first couple of cons. So I had stacks of books in this house. And then all of a sudden we're all shut down. I'm like, all right, it'll be a couple of weeks. And I even remember posting, I'm like, you know what, we're going to give it the summer, but we're going to go to this con, like 5 end of the year cons. We'll be there. By June, I'm like, this isn't going to happen. We're not going anywhere. And because, it's a country. We live in a country. So everything has to happen for the country. And it didn't. So, no, boy. So I kept creating comics. And I got a new one coming out. I'm really excited about this one. It's called Bob, Sins of the Sun. And, oh, boy, how do I put this? It's the story of the kid, Death's kid. Death has kids. And and this, instead of just shepherding souls to the great beyond, like what Death does help. That's a very helpful character when you think about it. I mean, he's help. You're dying, and he's helping you get to the great beyond. He's your guide. So that's kind of cool. That's a really nice thing. Death is there to help you. So Bob, because he's a rebellious kid, he decides he wants to be a superhero in Chicago. and but he's got all these amazing powers, because he is Death's kid, and
Right.
So it's a pretty odd book, and I'm working with a lady named Ghoul Beans as the artist on it, and she's actually the same artist who did Savarchik with me, and she did it. I don't know if you can see this. Let me show you on Savarchik, but all of her stuff is like this very liquid style. Let's see here we go. Show you this. Pull that up. She does this very liquid minimalist style. It's almost like oil paintings.
Oh, wow.
And, and I really love her work. She's just an incredible artist. She's a wonderful human being. She's a pleasure to work with. It's like sometimes you work with people and it's like, all right, this guy's a jerk, but he turns out really good work. So you grit your teeth and go and deal with it. Her, I'm like, give me a hug, mommy. Well, not really, because we're like 1,000 miles apart, but you get the idea. We get along really, really well. She's a wonderful person, and having her on board for Bob is just a godsend, And she did some character renderings of Bob and the son and the daughter, because Death has a daughter, and she did them where they had different color flames in their eyes. So the dad has red, Bob has blue, the daughter has green, and because they're half human, half Death, they still have some curves and form that they would have from a human body. It's a really interesting comic, and that's one of those things where I get to get into a lot of stuff. In fact, at our church, I teach Sunday school, and I know that's a little shock for some people.
Wow.
That's what I did this morning. That's why we couldn't talk this morning. I was teaching Sunday school. But one of the things, one of our pastors there, one of the board members there, said, she wanted people to rethink how they said the Our Father, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, blah, 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 that one. Mm-hmm. She wanted to do it a different way. And I started playing with it. Now, I grew up Catholic, so we didn't call it the Our Father. We called it the Pater Noster. And because we learned it in Latin, because that's what you do. You torture kids by making them learn Latin when they're 6. So it's cool. And so I had the Pater Noster. So it has a different rhythm in Latin. And so I started with the Latin rhythm, and then I came back to English language. And anyway, I found out, and I made it into this kind of postmodern, Dada-esque version of a prayer. And I make the culmination of the first book. So you get into the religion, you get into the violence, and he kills people, so that's fun. He likes to hang out at coffee houses when there's nobody around. It just makes him feel a little more normal. It's a very weird book. It's very fun. When Ghoul Beans said, when she first read the script, she was like, "Oh my God, I will dedicate my life to doing this. I want to do this." And so we got the money to pay her and make it happen, and I'm all excited. And she's working hard on it while you and I are talking. She's working at busting her butt. You and I are just sitting around drinking beer or vodka or whatever.
Oh yeah. Are you kickstarting the book?
Nope. Since I have distribution, and since I have a couple of library systems that buy my stuff now, and I also have a European distribution, I just do it on my own. I use funds generated. We'll be getting to Legends Parallel number 4 this year based on funds generated. So right. we tried to do a Kickstarter for it, and it failed. And a lot of the reason was because nobody was focused on just the Kickstarter, because we were all doing other things. And when you do a Kickstarter, that's your life commitment for 30 days. You have to do nothing but the Kickstarter. And in my case, I have so many projects going on. As a matter of fact, when that Kickstarter was out for Legends Parallel, I was working on the Kickstarter for the Poe book. And, of course, that was an easier Kickstarter to do because, hey, this guy did Iron Man, this guy did Batman, this guy did Thor, this guy, guy did Deathstroke. Okay, people know those names. I'm walking in the door with a loaded roster there. But Legends Parallel, people, who's Bill McCormick? Who's Bill Mcscifi? Maybe now it might be different. I mean, when we did it then, I had a mailing list of about 600 people, but now I'm closer to 5,000. Wow. So, I mean, I got like 12,000 people following me on Twitter, and I'm getting a lot more traction. And I had it's kind of funny. I had a guy just a couple days ago. He's a rocket scientist, and his wife is a retired burlesque dancer. And he was looking for something. Well, what the hell? It's a job.
Yeah.
I used to date a burlesque dancer. They're wonderful people. The burlesque community is just open and giving and warm. Think of it like cosplay, but with more boobs. it's just it's incredibly warm, giving crew. But anyway, so he was looking for something from the science fiction author David Brin, and Brin actually follows me, so he found a link to my stuff while he was dumpster diving through whatever the hell he was looking for with Brin. And so, he's got Hugo Award-winning author, Nebula Award-winning author, and Bill, me over here in the corner. So he clicks on that to see what it is, and he runs into Legends Parallel. He immediately flips over to the digital side and buys it. Nice. 5 minutes later, he writes me online. I'm like, because I'm looking at like, where did this come from? It's like $10 popped up in the middle of nowhere. And he writes me online. He goes, dude, I saw this. He goes, I am a rocket scientist and I work in quantum physics. That's what I do. He said, I read the first synopsis and review on your book and I went, I have to have this. This will be mine. It's like, it goes, I sound like Wayne's World. This will be mine.
So, quick question to backpedal a little bit. Does anybody in your church know about the comic books you make?
Oh yeah, quite a few. More people than you might imagine. I don't hide it. I don't hide what I do.
Yeah.
And my fiance Kim, she likes to wear my T-shirts that Bill Mcscifi on it, so people know it and they go to the website. Some people are appalled by what I do for a living. Some are amazed by it. Some love it. Some have become fans and buy the stuff for themselves. And as a matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, I was delivering novels to members of the church who ordered them online so they could get them autographed. They know what my stuff is. They know what they're getting when they get into my universe. Right. Some of them like the hardcover books I do. Some of them like the comic books I do. Some of them just like the digital stuff. And I have a little bit of something for everybody. Our church is a little older, so it's like the average age is like 65. I'm a youngster there. So they're not really looking at comic books that much anyway. But they know what I do. They know what it is. When we got our new pastor, I was really upfront with her about what I do and what kind of stuff I write, and she's like, "Ooh, cool! Sounds like what I like." So,
all right, wow, okay.
I don't do porn, man. I mean, yeah, there are elements of erotica in there, but they're elements as part of a broader story,
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to see a boob or a dongle or something, but you're also going to get a story about racism and social class warfare, and in the case of Hybrid Zero, genetic manipulation gone wrong. The mother actually designs her own daughter so she can make her into a warrior. I mean, there's a lot to chew on there, and that's why like with Cyril Brown from Hybrid Zero, or with Leslie Taylor from Legends Parallel, we try and strike a balance of, we got these outstanding wild visuals that, just grab your eyeballs, but we also tell a really dark story. We're telling some very meaningful stories, and that's how we get away with it, because people are like, oh, wow, this is like boobs, and oh my God, wait, no, the world's ending? No, wait, it's like, you don't get it right away.
Right.
But when people have reviewed our stuff, and if you go to my website or go to any of the comic book websites, and you can read the reviews, you'll see that the critics have really gotten it. They really, they understood what we're doing. And it's been a slow haul because we don't do what everybody else does. There's nothing traditional in anything we've done. And even Bob Sins of the Sun is going to be very non-traditional. But slowly but surely we're gathering ground. We're getting steam. We're getting people to follow along. We're getting people to buy the book. They buy enough of the books that we make more books, Mm-hmm. So that's, when at the end of the day, it's like, how successful are you? Well, we made enough money to go do this again, so.
Right. How do you announce the books since you don't do a Kickstarter? Like let's say if we have a new viewer to you and they're not friends with you on Facebook, do you just release it onto your website?
A couple of ways. I make sure that there's a YouTube post for it because I got a YouTube and a Vimeo channel, and I got subscribers to all that. Then I've got my mailing list, which everything that's new goes out on my mailing list. Then I have a blog that mirrors my mailing list. That some people prefer the blog; they don't want to get an email, but they will go check out the blog when I update it every Tuesday, and that's fine. You don't need to have me everywhere in your life.
Right.
But when I put it on Twitter, whenever I announce something new on Twitter, I'll probably get 1,000 to 2,000 retweets on it, and so. So obviously somebody wants this stuff, and And so I do it that way. I use social media. I'm pretty aggressive on social media. I'm branded on all social media. Everything I do on social media is at Bill Mcscifi. There's no Bill McCormick except for my personal page on Facebook. I'm Bill McCormick there. But that's for my family and friends and my couple of cousins that still talk to me. But for anything professional I do, everything is done Bill Mcscifi.
Okay.
So it's like, you want to find me on Pinterest, it's Bill Mcscifi. You want to find me on Twitter, Bill Mcscifi. You want to find me on Instagram, it's Bill Mcscifi. You got one choice. I made it very easy for everybody. Even YouTube. I have enough followers that I can have a custom name for my channel. You go to youtube.com/Bill Mcscifi. There I am.
All right. Well, thank you, Bill, for coming to talk with us. I know 20 minutes goes by pretty fast, but is there anything you want to say to everybody before we leave?
No, I just come on by, check my stuff out. It's a lot of fun. Not for everyone, but if you don't mind a little odd humor and more adult themed, either in my comics or in my books, then I might be what you're looking for. And if not, well, it's nice meeting you anyway.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to come talk with us, Bill.